I have some news for you. You're never actually going to accomplish anything if you're waiting for confidence. Confidence does not come to you. Confidence is something that you build. Confidence is something that you cultivate. Confidence is something that you nurture and you grow through doing difficult things. That's really how you build confidence. You have to do the work. You have to do the work physically if your goal is something physical. You have to do the work mentally if you're trying to grow up here. And you have to do something difficult emotionally and spiritually if you want to grow in those areas. It's never an easy path to gaining confidence. Welcome back to Be Unafraid podcast. Today we're talking about the 10 signs that are quietly stealing your confidence and making you doubt yourself. Most of these are so hidden that you don't even realize that you're doing them. So today I'm going to help you name them, break through them, and then we're going to help you rebuild your confidence and start to get you to that next level of being confident one step at a time. So let's dive into it. If you found yourself thinking like this, then chances are it's because you don't trust yourself. You don't trust yourself to be able to accomplish that thing. And the truth is, you think that you can't have it. You think that and feel that you don't deserve that thing. There's a lot of self-doubt that you still have and that you're battling. And in your mind, you feel like you're not a person who deserves this thing. So anytime you think about this dream or this goal that you have, you think about this wonderful thing that you want to do and you get excited about it. You start to imagine it, you start to envision it, and you're feeling pumped up about it. But then there's that other side of you that creeps in and tells you inside your head, inside your heart, that you can't do this because you're not built for this and that someone like you doesn't deserve this. You tell yourself it's not that important and you move on, and that's one lost dream that you're not going to accomplish. The first step to overcoming something like this is something that's very difficult to do. You need to recognize and realize that you don't trust yourself. The reason why you're downplaying your goals and dreams and objectives to other people and you're downplaying them to yourself is because you haven't yet built that belief in yourself that you're a person who can deliver results, and potentially, maybe, possibly you failed at that thing before in the past, or you've failed at other things and you're carrying that over to this current state that you're in, and you're not realizing that in order for you to actually feel that you deserve something, you need to actually do the thing and you need to actually get results, because that's ultimately what's going to build confidence. So understanding that whenever you feel excited about something, whenever you think about a goal and objectives and you want to do it, you should go and do it. You should do whatever you can to go and start doing that thing and take action on that thing as quickly as possible, because that's going to help you to not stay stuck in this constant cycle of thinking of doing something and then giving up on it because you don't believe in yourself. The next one is you love planning, because planning doesn't feel terrifying. Planning often feels exciting. Planning requires you to imagine things. Planning requires you to spend a lot of time in strategy and in your head and putting things on paper and writing things down. But the actual doing is something that you're afraid of. The actual doing is something that you don't do. So you rely on creating a perfect plan and you get super excited about accomplishing that perfect plan, but you never actually take the step to do it. You're not going to accomplish that thing. You're not going to accomplish that thing. A plan is just a plan until you actually start to execute. And being in the world of program management, one thing that I have learned over time and have realized on projects is projects start on paper, but ultimately what people care about is the deliverable, is the end product. What comes out of that project? What do you get out of it? So look at your life as if it was a project, because ultimately this life that we live in, this experience, is one big project. It has a start, it has a middle, and it has an end. So if you look at your life as a project, then you can plan out the things that you want to do, but make sure that you just don't stop at the planning stage and that you actually go into execution where you're doing things, you're taking action, you're taking steps to move that project along. And ultimately, you're going to get a result, whether it's a failure or a success. What matters is that you're moving forward and you're actually making progress. Realize there's no such thing as a perfect plan. If you wait for that perfect plan, you're just going to keep planning your life away. And by the time you get to the end of your life, you're just going to have nothing but plans with no results to show for it. So don't wait for that perfect plan. Execute with what you have. And if your plan is good enough, if your plan is 80% of the way there, don't try to chase after that 20%. Go ahead and start executing, because that 20% will come when you execute and you get results. Subscribe to the channel if you're tired of pretending that you feel fine and you're ready to build real confidence. This is your space to stop overthinking and to start showing up for yourself. So let's make sure you do that. Let's get back into this episode. The next one is that you keep breaking promises to yourself. You make a promise that you're going to do something. That time comes for you to actually do something. You don't do said something, and you make another promise. You don't do it. You make another promise, you don't do it. You break promises over and over and over again, to the point where it feels like the promises that you make to yourself don't really mean much. And anytime you say that you're going to do something, you actually don't do it. We all know that one friend that tells us that they're going to do these 500 things. And we all know that that same friend doesn't do any of those things. Now, you could be that friend, and if you're honest enough to realize that, then you can start working towards that. Or you can think of that friend of yours and you realize that they are very good at making promises, but they're not actually good at following through on their promises. You have to flip that mindset and think of breaking your promises as disrespect, because that's what it is. You're disrespecting yourself. Think about when you make a promise to someone else and you break it. They feel disrespected. Think about when someone makes a promise to you and they break it. They feel disrespected. But when you make a promise to yourself and you break it, you feel nothing at all. That's not the mentality that you need to look at these things in your life, and you need to look at these promises in your life. You need to understand that the same promise you make to someone else, the same promise someone makes to you, and the same promise you make on yourself is treated and weighs equally. So really understand that by breaking your own promises and not doing that thing, then you're disrespecting yourself. The next one is you hide behind high standards. You have such a high bar for everything that if it doesn't meet that bar, you're not going to do it. We all have another friend, probably most of us can relate to this, that has a very high bar for relationships, for people that they'll get into relationships with. We all know that those standards are never going to be met by anybody. You would have to find the most perfect human being on earth in order to meet your friend's standards. And yet we take that same level of thinking, that same mentality, and apply to everything across the board in our lives. And we hide behind that list of standards and say that I'm not going to chase my dream because I have these high standards that I have to meet first. I'm not going to get in shape and get healthier and work out because I have to meet these standards. I'm not going to start that business. I'm not going to start that YouTube channel. I'm not going to go study and earn that certification, or I'm not going to change jobs and go take a risk and try a new job because I have such high standards here. We hide behind that list of standards that we actually use it as an excuse, and it slows us down in what we want to do. So you have to understand that standards are great. It's good to have high standards. What's not good is using that as an excuse not to do something. You have high standards, and then you go execute, and you execute at a high level in order to meet your standard. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to set a standard, and then now you're supposed to go take the action that matches that standard. That's ultimately what it's supposed to do. The standard is not supposed to keep you from actually doing the thing that you want to do. So you have to understand that perfectionism and having high standards sounds very noble. It sounds very noble, and it sounds like an amazing thing, but you're really just afraid to suck at something. That's really the truth, is you're afraid to suck at something. You're afraid to seem incompetent at something. You're afraid to seem like a loser at something. So you hide behind those standards. But you need to realize that in order to actually accomplish high standards, you kind of have to suck at something and push your way through it anyways. This is something that I struggled with early in my career in corporate. Is I had such high standards of myself that I was so hesitant in doing anything. I was so hesitant in moving because I hadn't met my own self-inflicted bar yet. I was so hesitant in growing, really. It stopped me from growing in a lot of ways because I wasn't taking action. I was waiting for that perfect time. I was waiting to have that perfect knowledge, to have that perfect situation, but that never came. That never came. And I just watched as people that had flaws but were taking actions kept on moving higher and higher and higher, getting promoted, making more money, moving on to bigger and bigger companies. And it wasn't until I realized that the standards that I have can only be met by me actually taking action and doing something, and then also realizing that I need to work on myself now, and I need to grow and improve myself now in order to meet that standard. I'm not there yet, but I can get there. So that's where you need to get to as well. And you need to realize that about perfectionism and high standards. The next one is you think every decision is life and death. This one is a very dangerous one because it kind of piggybacks off of the last one with high standards. But this one is about decision making and actually committing to something. You feel that when you commit to something and it comes out wrong, that's the end of you. If you commit to something and you make an error, that's the end of everything for yourself. Everything just falls apart. And that is not the mentality of successful people. That is not the mentality of people that accomplish things, because they don't think of decisions as life or death. A decision is just a decision. You make a decision and then there's an outcome, and then you adjust and you move on and tackle the outcome, right? The truth is you're just afraid to be wrong. You don't trust yourself to handle to be wrong, or you don't know yet how to handle to be wrong. Maybe because you've played it safe for a very long time, you are not comfortable with being wrong. Maybe because you've been wrong before and there was punishment for being wrong. So anytime you're faced with a decision where you could be wrong, you feel very scared and you see it as a life or death decision. And that's not the way to think about it. Thinking that way, you actually end up doing nothing. So when you have that mindset, you actually end up not doing anything because you're just afraid and you get paralyzed. So the way around that, and a mental model or a mindset reset that you can use, is thinking of decisions as either a one-way door or a two-way door. And this is a model that actually came from Jeff Bezos in the early days of Amazon, and it's become a culture in the Amazon corporate culture. It's a one-way door and a two-way door. Essentially, a one-way door is a decision that you make and there's really no coming back from it, or it's extremely costful to come back from that one-way decision. And a two-way door is a door that you can go through and then you can come right back through if things don't work out, and you can move on to another door. So think of your decisions in this way. Look at the decision that you have and ask yourself, is this a one-way door where I can't come back from this? Or is this a two-way door where I make the decision, and if it doesn't work out, then you come back out and you find another door, or you readjust? Most of the time in life, decisions are two-way doors. There's a few one-way doors, which, yes, you need to take your time to think about, but most of the decisions that you will make in life are going to be two-way doors. And when you start to realize that, it becomes a little bit easier to make that decision and to now start to trust yourself a little bit more. This next one is one that I have a love and hate relationship with, and I'll tell you why I both love and hate this one point. And this point is that you avoid anything that might make you feel stupid. So you end up not doing anything. I hate this one because this is one that I probably feel the most on most days. And this is one that I've probably felt the most in my life. And I bet you can resonate with that too as well, is being afraid to do things. being afraid to start new hobbies, being afraid to take risks, being afraid to go do something new, being afraid to do whatever it is that you want to do because you're afraid you're going to feel stupid because you don't know how to do that thing. So you feel that if other people see you doing that thing and they realize that you're not good, all of a sudden it means that you are incompetent. All of a sudden it means that you're lacking something, and it means that you're a loser. That is one of the reasons why I hate this one, because it's a very tough feeling. It's a very tough feeling, and one that's really hard to get a handle of and really hard to get over. But the good thing about it is there's ways around it, and there's ways that you can have a better relationship with that feeling. And it brings me into the reason why now I love this feeling of feeling stupid, is because that is what leads to success. That is what leads to growth. That is what leads to actually accomplishing things. You can't get something, you can't succeed at something without first being bad at it and going through the grind and the motion of getting better at it. And when you go through that journey, personal growth happens. When you go through that journey, you become a better person and you actually level up. And that feeling of feeling stupid actually now turns into a different feeling. You start to want to feel that, because when you feel that, you're in that zone now where you know that you can work and improve because you've done it before. So it's a growth fuel, that feeling of being stupid, because everything that you do as a beginner, you're going to feel incompetent. You're going to feel like a loser. But guess what? There's going to be a day when you're not, and you're actually going to be good at that thing and you're going to enjoy it. The next one is you stay busy so you don't have to face your fear. The famous quote, "We all have 24 hours in a day. It's what you do with it that matters." That quote is true. It really is true, because we hide around the fact that we're busy. We hide around the fact that we don't have time. We hide around the fact that we have XYZ to do, that we have this project to do. We got to take care of this thing. We got to run this errand. And all of these things are valid excuses, but ultimately they're reasons and excuses for us to procrastinate. And this is one of those things that kills every single dream that you have and kills your level of self-worth and self-belief in yourself, because you ultimately end up breaking promises to yourself, like we talked about earlier, because now you're using this excuse to not do something that you want to do, or not do something that you've committed to doing before. So you can respond back to me and say, "But Fortune, you don't know my situation, you don't know my life, you don't know my circumstances, you don't know what I have to do, and all these things that I have to do, X, Y, and Z." And all of that is valid. All of that I understand and acknowledge that. And I even have the same feelings too, and the same types of sentiments. But the thing is, you can walk outside right now, throw a rock, and probably hit somebody who is in your situation, but still working towards their goal. You can find someone who doesn't have time and they're still working on the side to build a side hustle. You can find time of someone who works a full-time job, 50, 60 hours a week, more than a full-time load, and still finds the time to go to the gym. You can find someone who's in the circumstance that you're in, and that's the mindset that helped me escape this loop and this mentality, is understanding that if there's one person on this earth who's done something that I want to do and who's in my circumstance and has overcome it, then I have no excuse and no reason not to do that thing. And you should start to think the same as well. The next one is you keep waiting for confidence before you actually make a move. I have some news for you. You're never actually going to accomplish anything if you're waiting for confidence. Confidence does not come to you. Confidence is something that you build. Confidence is something that you cultivate. Confidence is something that you nurture and you grow through doing difficult things. That's really how you build confidence. You have to do the work. You have to do the work physically if your goal is something physical. You have to do the work mentally if you're trying to grow up here. And you have to do something difficult emotionally and spiritually if you want to grow in those areas. It's never an easy path to gaining confidence. You can look at people that are confident, you see them, you see how they interact with other people, you perceive that they are confident, and they might very well be confident. But I bet you if you rewind years and go back to their younger years or as they were growing up and building that confidence, you'll see that they were actually putting in the work. Whether it came natural to them or they were trying to, they put in the work to build that confidence. You find me an athlete who's good at what they do, I can rewind time and I can show you a time where they were not confident in their skill. You find a successful entrepreneur, they will tell you a story about how they struggled with confidence in building their business. That's most people. Most people start from zero and they build. They build confidence, and building confidence is something that will build your self-worth, that will build your self-discipline and your self-belief in yourself. You don't need more clarity. You don't need more confidence. You don't need to feel a certain way. You just need to start moving. You need to take action. And one of the things that I learned is I was the person that was waiting for confidence. I was that person that was waiting and that was reading about it and listening about it. But then I heard from Gary Vaynerchuk. I listened to one of his podcasts and he was talking about most people need to just stop reading. You need to just stop watching. You need to stop listening, and you need to actually start doing. You think that these books, these podcasts, this music is going to give you confidence. It might give you motivation for a second, but ultimate confidence comes from the doing. You have to cultivate it. You have to put those things down. You've done enough. You have what you need, and you just need to start executing, and you need to start actually doing the thing and get on your way to becoming more confident. The next one is you tell the same story over and over about why you're stuck. Essentially, you make excuses. You start to make excuses. We all do it. You do it. I do it. Every single day. Every single day we make excuses. Excuses are one of the things that is always on time every single time. Any time you need an excuse, it's there. It's there. You don't have to look far. You don't have to go dig for an excuse. You don't have to go make up an excuse. You'll find one. If there's something you want to do, you'll find an excuse not to do that thing. And that's going to erode your confidence that you're trying to build. And that's going to erode your self-trust and destroy that if you keep relying on excuses. One of my favorite quotes is by Bill Bessick, who is a sports psychologist. And he mentioned that there are 1,000 excuses not to do something, but not a single reason not to do it. So think about that for a second. You can find all the excuses in the world not to do something, but you will never find a good reason why you shouldn't do it. For example, if you want to get fit and you want to build muscle, lose weight, whatever goal it is, you'll find excuses not to do that. There's always going to be an excuse. Don't have enough time. I'm too old now. I don't have enough energy. I'll do it next time. But one thing that you're going to struggle to find is a good reason why you shouldn't be healthier. If you're looking to get a promotion at work, you can find an excuse not to put in the time to increase your value at work and learn and take that extra time outside of work to study and maybe get a certification. But you'll find excuses not to do all of those things, but you'll never find a reason why you shouldn't go after that promotion. So when you start to think of things this way, and you start to think of the excuses in this way and the reasons in this way, things become a little bit easier for you to actually take action, because now you start to identify what are excuses, and then you start to replace those excuses with the reason why you should do that thing. So take some time to think about that and be honest with yourself about the excuses that you're using in your life. This next one is you don't believe in yourself anymore, but you hide it very well. You still show up, you still smile, you still put on a face, but deep down inside, you know that you don't believe that you can actually be successful. In fact, you've actually given up on yourself. You've actually given up on yourself and you've stopped trying. And that is probably the worst thing you can do, because once you start doing that, once you stop trying and you've given up on yourself, that means you actually don't give yourself a chance to succeed. You don't give yourself a chance to actually fail which leads to success because you just don't feel like you have it anymore. You need to find a way to reclaim that for yourself. You need to find a way to reignite that fire, find a way to get rid of those excuses and to find reasons to do something, and find what excites you and start to slowly cultivate self-belief. And then all of a sudden, it's going to jump you into becoming a much better version of yourself, and you start to become a more emboldened and confident person. If any part of you feels like you've been playing small, the next step is understanding why starting feels so scary. Check out this next episode right here, and I'm going to show you how to overcome that fear of starting something new and how to now go into things with more confidence.